weiß Bescheid. Intendo.
Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast on the planet. Prepare to reevaluate everything you've been taught.
So it did work out, like I said last time, that we ended up taking the Monday off. And again, normally we'd have some podcast set up or something timed in, but honestly, I was kind of feeling a little bit of burnout. It's not a bad burnout. It's just that, you know, when you keep up a pattern, you got a lot to say. There's some times where I'll knock out a bunch of podcasts really all at once. Different topics, different things, and then we'll have a bunch of guests, and sometimes the guests can come on, 3 of them can come on Wednesday. So you kind of get what you can when you can, and what do they say? Strike while the iron's hot. So many people have this conceived notion or this idea in their head that they can't get started on something because it's not going to sound the way their favorite show sounds. Or how are they going to get all of these topics and all of these things, and how are they going to make sure that it goes live when they say it goes live? And there are so many things that will run through our minds that will hamper us from being able to do what we want to do. In other words, we're going to think ourselves out of doing what we want to do. And that's a funny thing when you think about it. You sit there and you've done absolutely nothing, but you thought yourself to death. And next thing you know, you're not doing anything. Which is kind of what I want to talk about today. This one's definitely going to be entrepreneurial in sense, in business-wise in sense. Obviously, it's going to be motivational in sense because there's so many things that we really don't perceive about anything. Our lives are indicative of what we allow ourselves to look at. And what I mean by that is we are influenced directly by our influences, which sounds kind of obvious. The problem, though, is outside of our sphere of influence and outside of what we allow to influence ourselves and who we influence and the conversations that we have is an entire world of possibility, of opportunity, of comprehension, understanding, compassion. And what does that mean? Does that mean leave your bubble and go free? No. And here's the thing. There's a lot of people out there that are super stoked with where they are. There's even more people that have never even considered where they are. They just simply are there. They just exist. They just do what they're told. They don't think for themselves, and they don't know to think for themselves. And the funny thing is, it's the perceiver and the observer of the statement made or listened, the observer of the statement that then reiterates how the individual or entity should feel through their own process. What I'm kind of saying here is I was going through a few things, and with regards to perception, with regards to sphere of influence, there's some stuff that's been showing up that I'm like, I got to read this out. So I came across a meme and I thought, like, I've seen this before. I know about this stuff, and it still doesn't hit you until it needs to hit you, because even though here's the weird thing, even though we're in this growth mindset, even that is the sphere of influence that we're in. So we're only experiencing this based on what we know to experience it on, which is insanity when you really truly think about it. The fact that you're growing and expanding is actually a limiting belief. Anyway, I can get back to that one a little bit later on, but that's a really cool thing, because it's like I'm going to ignore all of these other things because my growth and expansion is going to be focused on this particular thing. And when you look at that and you go, Jesus, even this is like a bit of a booby trap, because we're not open to everything else because we're laser focused on this form of growth. This is spiritual. This is psychological. This is in business. This is in the gym. This is everything. When we hyper focus on something, we eliminate something else. And it's a very weird spot. Now, I'm going to say this. This is a meme. I'm reading this directly from the meme. It says, China is teaching their kids quantum physics and calculus, while America is teaching our kids gender pronouns and how to twerk from a drag queen. And the funny thing is, we're sitting here going, well, we have to defend the drag queen's right and ability to twerk. Meanwhile, if everybody's busy defending everybody else, why isn't anyone defending themselves? Why isn't anyone saying to themselves, I need to do a little bit more for myself? All of society's been told that, we will police you, we will do everything for you. And this is our society. This is North American society. This is land of the free. We will police you. We will do for you. You're sick. COVID's a thing. You're going to go ahead and you're going to get the needle so you don't get grandma sick. I mean, there's police going around right now investigating sudden infant death. And they're asking COVID questions about it, and they're getting shut down. This is an actual case going on. I believe it's in Ontario, maybe even Ottawa. She's been released from the force, or at least put on suspension for asking these questions. Holy juniper. So you take all politics outside of that, and you look at this world where okay, so here's the thing. This woman's doing that stuff, this police officer. She gets arrested. That's one story. I find out about it. That's another version of this story where that's peculiar, and now I'm asking myself these questions about it. I share it with you. Now you're listening to it, which is another version entirely of the same story. And it's like everyone can think this is just one story. It's about a woman who's investigating COVID. But the truth is, it changes every single time it's observed. And you apply your history to it. You apply the story that you've been telling yourself throughout the course of your life as to what this could possibly mean. Every single person that hears any story ever is tying in their experience to it. Therefore, no one story ever told twice is the same story. Everyone sees it differently. Hell, you watch all those movies from the 80s where the bad guys are off doing the stuff and then the good guys win and we all get a freeze frame high five at the end. You watch them now and you're like, the bad guys were just going against the government. And the government's being kind of a dick in this movie. And the bad guys really kind of had a point. So the same movie being told with new perspective and new understanding and new comprehension of yourself and of your world around you and of everything that's going on, it's an entirely different movie. Right? But if you talk about this stuff and if you let other people in on the thoughts that you're having, you're crazy. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that you're supposed to not talk about that stuff? No. Does that mean you're supposed to get new friends? In my case, maybe. It might not hurt. And it's forever expanding. I'm forever expanding. I'm always, looking for people that I can talk to about these things. Not because I need them to see things from my point of view, or I'm looking for an echo chamber. But when I say a bunch of stuff or have a bunch of conversations and I see the eye rolls and the fluoride stare, I just don't feel like talking. And that hurts my soul, as I'm sure it hurts yours. So when you get somebody that's moderately interested in what you're talking about, you get to then expand upon your energy, your knowledge, your understanding. And the more you talk about something, the more you understand it better yourself. This is why a lot of teachers should be hypervigilant. But now I have another question about teachers too. How come they're just blindly teaching? How come if you asked in science class or geography class, is the world round? Cognitive dissonance kicks in even with your teacher, and they're like, you can't ask those questions. Of course it is. Don't be stupid. Somebody somewhere way back in the 1800s said it was a ball, and this is what we now believe. And if you even come close to questioning it, you're stupid. So the things that people even teach, the historic and systemic things that have been taught to us in every aspect of everything are all wrong, fundamentally wrong. Yet you and I are sitting here trying to deduce who we are as an entity based on all of the information that we have at our disposal. And all of it's kind of wrong. It's all wrong. Oh, no. And then somebody will say, well, how can it all be wrong? Right? And then we get into an argument. And then we realize, as the person who's speaking, an impossible argument with somebody who just wants to poke the beast or start shit or sound ignorant or arrogant or make fun of you or attack you with ad hominem. It's not up to you to convince them of anything. It's up to you to answer their obviously insecure question and based on their inability to think for themselves. You now have to answer the question for you, not for them. Because the more you answer the question for you, the more you yourself understand. At the end of the day, you go to bed with yourself. You're in your own head. You're the only constant inside all of your entire lives, every last one of you, is that you think for you. And inside your head is where the magic happens. Even when you think for somebody else, all you can do is think for them based on your experience. So the idea of getting into an argument or a fight or anything like that is absurd. The idea of anyone talking down to you is absurd. The idea of anyone saying anything to you other than what it is that you need to hear is absurd. Therein lies the rub. There are a lot of things that we need to hear that are going to shatter our cognitive dissonance, our own personal cognitive dissonance. There are a lot of things that we're going to hear that are going to make us get angry, but we're not angry at them. We only think we are. We're angry at that the words they chose challenge our belief system. And like I've said 1,000 times before, you either stand for something or you fall for everything, which is a saying that goes on and on and on through the dawn of time, just like a leopard can't change its spots. Two very dangerous statements. You're put on this earth to change your spots. The whole entire purpose of you being here is to change your spots, is to become a better version of yourself. Through pain, suffering, sorrow, success, greatness, cheer, joy. Everything you do is designed to make you a better version of you. And what you choose to do with that, some people choose to play the victim. Some people choose to aspire to more. Some people choose greatness. Some people absolutely refuse to do anything other than wallow in their own brand of bullshit. And that can be any brand. That could even be you right now listening. Perpetual needs. It's confusing. It gets confusing. It's almost condescending to think that we could offend ourselves. But none of us right now are really even looking at ourselves. If society has their way, which it seems to be the way it's going, everyone's looking at everybody else, pointing the finger everywhere else. Now, I said this was going to be entrepreneurial, and it kind of is. Because who you are as an entity, who you are as a person, if you're in an entrepreneurial business, if you are somebody who's working towards a bigger goal, inside the business that is you, whatever it is you provide, a service, what have you, the only way that we can get to a higher level or a higher state of mind, a higher place, a higher plateau in business, is to be able to have the conversations with ourselves that we choose not to have. There are things that take place in this realm as well, in this reality. The breaks that we get. Again, I bring up the fight with Instagram. I have a very strong feeling it's going to be a 3-month shadow ban. I've seen this. This is historically the way it is. And in the interim, I personally have turned the Instagram and the work that I'm putting out into something very much more personal, very more artistic for me. The likes, views, and all that sort of stuff may go down, but I'm no longer chasing it. And here's the funny thing about growth and expanse and all that sort of stuff. While we were chasing numbers, because, hey, it's always good to have good numbers on an Instagram, to get eyeballs on you, to be able to have some sort of effect, you lose a little bit of yourself, inch by inch, piece by piece, day by day. It's the boiling frog. And with this shadow ban, it's like you can look at it and go, oh, this is atrocious. I spent all this time doing all this and now for what? I get nothing back? Or you can look at it and go, this has given me an opportunity to completely step away and reset, because it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter if I stick to the patterns and this, that, and the other thing. I'm not going to keep up the same traction. So when we think to ourselves, momentum is what we need, momentum in this business, momentum in this industry is what we need for growth, for this, for that, for all of it. Everything that we think that we're doing inside of our business, we gradually get lost in it. Inch by inch, piece by piece, day by day, to the point where we're spinning our tires and we're pulling in 50 to 100 grand a year. And we think that entrepreneurial work is difficult, when really it truly isn't, when all we have to do is step back, ask ourselves some key questions, and see what different answers we give ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it really all does boil down to us and our perception and how we do things. We can't step into a higher purpose. We can't step into a higher self. We can't get out of a rut. We can't go past, I don't know, we can't go past, a dollar amount if we keep doing the same thing. If we keep having the same argument, if we keep waking up at the same time and drinking the same pot of coffee and having the same nightly routine. If we decide we want more, if we decide in any capacity or any facet of our lives that we want more, well, don't you have to change what you're doing, change it up? Or to decide that you want more and do nothing about it is going to cause more pain inside you. There's going to be more internal struggle. So how do we get past this? Well, we change. And sometimes it's by force, sometimes it's by hook or by crook, they say. But in any capacity of anything that we do, we can step ourselves into the next realm by simply deeming it done. When we observe certain things, when we observe certain algorithms, when we observe the fact that everything that we're observing right now is a reflection of the quote-unquote algorithm that we've chosen to look at for a very long time. All of the pain and suffering that we may be feeling, or even the happiness and joy. And this is another flip side to that people don't talk about. When everything's going really well, and you're earning the most you've ever earned, systematically you're going, that this week this is coming in, next week that's coming in, next week that's coming in. Your bills are paid, everything's good, everything is on the up and up. One thing that a lot of people don't talk about is how boring that is. So it's almost like regardless of anything, we need to do weird things to challenge ourselves, to step things up, to change things around, break pattern, right? And all of it really stems down to our ability to, again, comprehend ourselves in our situation, in what we're doing. Understand that every single thing that we're doing right now is limiting us from doing something else. And there's a ton of people out there that are happy that they've probably even turned this episode off. They're like, I don't need this one today. This seems a bit gibberishery. But there are some of you going, I'm missing that piece. I'm missing that thing. And I've got everything. I've got the money. I've got the wife. I've got the white picket fence. I've got the this. I've got the that. I've got the nice car. But something's missing. There's a lot of us that are out there that were saying that and doing that and being that. It's a crazy thing. It is a crazy thing to how do I put this? Like, be in a spot where your own influence is the thing that's hurting you the most, even though it's everything that we've ever looked at and focused on. There are so many things out there that we don't know anything about. And if you're going through life right now and it's status quo and you're having a great time and you're just really enjoying the experience, that's amazing. That's kind of where I am. Like I've stepped myself out of so many things where I'm not even upset about the pain. I'm not upset about the joy. I'm not overly thrilled about the joy. I'm not overly thrilled about the pain, but I witness it all. I watch people act and interact. I watch my character. I watch me interact with the world out there. Right now, I'm in this weird position where I'm watching myself record this podcast. I'm playing the character of Adam. And that character currently is talking into a microphone, staring at a computer screen, unloading thoughts. But what does it mean? How come I get to watch that? And what's he going to do next? Right? So there's a lot that goes into this. There's, like I said, I've been saying this, throughout this entire episode. Where are we in our own minds? How are we going to step into purpose? How do we find purpose? And is it okay to be bored? Is it okay to be upset? Is it okay to be these things? I say yes to all of that. I don't say yes to where are we, although that would be a fun thing to say. Where are we? Yes. Yes, indeed. But I say yes to everything. I said the true pain comes from not wanting to have the experience of boredom, sadness, fear. When you decide that you're going to have those experiences and you're going to look forward to having those experiences and you want to have the experiences, then they legitimately just become experiences, right? There's no difference between an experience of getting soaking wet and an experience of being extremely dry heat, right? Some would say, of course there's a difference. One you're hot, the other you're wet. Yes, but they're both experiences. And then one experience compared to another experience, you can say this is that and this is different, and here we have contrast. But you remove yourself from that. You take that experience, you put it in a box, take that experience, put it in a box. You have now 2 boxes of experiences. It's just 2 experiences. So perspective changes. Perspective changes, perspective limit raises. Who are you? Where are you? What are you doing? Are you upset? Are you happy? Are you okay with being upset? Are you okay with being happy? Are you in a position where you can make change? Can you physically make change? Do you want to make change? Should you make change? Should you stay the same? This is the fascinating thing. Again, this may sound like gibberish to a lot of people, but we have the ability to decide inside of our heads who, where, and what we are and where we're going to go and what we're going to do, how we're going to feel about where we are and what we're going to do. And every single thing that we could say other than that or to contrast that would be, well, what about those people over there that have that thing that aren't doing the thing that they're talking about? Which means your thing is bullshit because by contrast, that thing is bullshit. Well, you know what happens when we say things like that? First off, you denounce what I'm saying, which doesn't do you any justice. Secondly, you validate it by putting yourself in the shoes of somebody else, which is not even a truth to you. It's just an observation by you. So you take one observation of the thing that I say, you apply it to one observation of the thing that you've seen on the news, and then you tell yourself you can't do it. Which brings us completely full circle back to influence. We're in a position right now where every single thing that we've curated is based on our influence. From media to social media to our friends to the stories we tell ourselves. We are limiting ourselves. And there is a way out of that. The only way out of that, though, is to first acknowledge that's where you are. And there's a lot of people out there that can acknowledge it and say, you know what, I'm in a good spot. There's a lot of people out there that tell me I'm insane. I get that a lot, believe it or not. And there's a lot of people out there that are going, holy shit. You know, I am the curator of my own story and I can make the changes that I need to make. So I'm going to. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot you can do. If you need any help with anything, you can reach out to us, info at the Mental Mastery Alliance. There are some new deals as well in our promo page. You can head over there, thementalmasteryalliance.com. There's a couple of tabs at the top of the screen. Lots of fun stuff going on. Feel free to check that stuff out. We are back in full swing. We are going to have a good time. There's going to be a lot of we've actually got a good list of guests coming down the pipe. I'm really excited to be able to chat with these people and to have a little bit of fun. We're going to burn up the rest of summer. And hopefully, if all goes well, we're going to head to Mexico in the winter because I don't want any more snow, at least for this year. And then we'll see what happens. So I will leave you with this, ladies and gentlemen, in the infamous words of Red Green. Keep your stick on the ice.
Thank you for listening to today's Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag MMA and Mental Mastery Alliance. Want more motivation? Be sure to follow online on Instagram at Mental Mastery Alliance and on Facebook at Mental Mastery Alliance. And remember, your perception creates your reality. Make it a great day.
You got it, Pontiac.